My husband and his family threw me out. They had no idea I just won $500,000 in the lottery. Now they want me back. Dear amazing viewers, before I dive into today's powerful story, please take a moment to hit the subscribe button, like, and share this video with someone who loves a good story. I promise to keep bringing you deeply emotional, gripping, and entertaining stories about marriage betrayals, cheating spouses, and the kind of revenge that hits right where it hurts, all told in a way that will keep you hooked till the very last second. Your support truly means the world to me. Now, grab your drink, settle in, and let's get started. My name is Emily Dawson. I'm 38 years old, born and raised in Grand Rapids, Michigan. I used to believe that love could fix anything, until the people I call family turned me into a stranger overnight. I remember the day I walked into the Dawson household for the first time after Mark and I got married. His mother, Patricia, had smiled politely, offering lukewarm tea and colder stares. She never wanted Mark to marry me, said I wasn't ambitious enough. I was a nurse's assistant, proud of my work. But in Patricia's world, if your job didn't involve a title or a tailored suit, you were disposable. Mark and I had been married for nearly 12 years. The first few years were peaceful enough, though I could always sense that something was off. Mark was kind in public, but at home, he'd go days without speaking to me unless he needed something. His mother visited often, too often, and always found a way to criticize everything I did. She'd say things like, "Emily, you made this pasta too soft again," or "No wonder Mark's losing weight. You barely know how to cook." At first, I stayed quiet, hoping things would improve. I thought maybe if I just tried harder, they'd see how much I love Mark. But with time, their word got sharper and Mark's silence grew heavier. I cooked, I cleaned, I worked long hours, and still I was lazy. I was draining him. Patricia even told Mark one evening, right in front of me, that I was a liability and he should cut his losses early. He said nothing. Then came that Wednesday evening. I got home from work to find Patricia sitting on our couch like she owned the place. Mark was standing behind her, arms crossed. I remember the air in the room. It was thick, like something bad was about to happen. "We've talked," Patricia began, her tone calm and chilling. "This arrangement is no longer working." I blinked. "Excuse me?" Mark still didn't speak. He just stared at the floor. She stood, walked over, and placed an envelope on the coffee table. "It's best you leave tonight. Mark needs peace in his own home, and frankly, you're holding him back." "Are you serious?" I managed to whisper. Patricia gave a small shrug. "It's nothing personal, Emily, but we've done more than enough for you." "More than enough?" Mark finally raised his eyes. "It's for the best, Em. I need space. You've changed." My knees felt weak. I looked around the furniture I had dusted every week. The curtains I chose, the kitchen I slaved in after long shifts. I had poured 12 years into this home, and suddenly, it wasn't mine anymore. I packed 2 bags. Not because I wanted to, but because I knew begging wouldn't change anything. They had made up their minds. Patricia followed me outside with a box of my toiletries, like she couldn't wait to throw me out. "You'll land on your feet," she said, almost mockingly. I didn't respond. I just got into my old Honda and drove off into the night, trying to hold back the tears until I was at least a few blocks away. As I drove to Claire's house, my only real friend, I kept replaying everything in my head. The insults, the silence, the cold dismissal. I couldn't stop the ache in my chest. I wasn't just losing a husband. I was being erased like I never mattered. Claire opened her door to robe and wrapped me in a hug before I could even say a word. "Come in," she whispered. "You don't have to explain. Just breathe." That night, I lay on her couch staring at the ceiling, completely hollowed out. My phone vibrated once. It was a message from Mark. "I hope we can part respectfully. I'll have the divorce papers sent next week." "No, I'm sorry." "No, are you okay?" Just cold closure. I closed my eyes, and for a moment, all I could think was, maybe I really was a problem. Maybe I wasn't enough. Then I remembered something small. Tucked in my purse was that lottery ticket. A cheap scratch card I bought days ago when I stopped at the gas station for milk and gas. I had almost thrown it away, but something told me to keep it. I had scratched it quietly one night after dinner, while Mark was upstairs ignoring me. When I saw the numbers match, my heart had jumped, but I didn't believe it. I hid the card in my Bible between Psalms and Proverbs. That same card was now tucked in the side pocket of my bag. I didn't know it yet, but everything was about to change. I didn't sleep much that night. Claire had pulled out her spare quilt and given me her favorite pillow, but my mind was restless. Everything I had built in the last 12 years, gone in a blink. I stared at the ceiling and tried to make sense of it all, but no matter how I turned it, the pain always landed in the same place. I had been discarded like an old coat that no longer fit. But as I turned over again, my fingers brushed the side pocket of my bag. And then I remembered the scratch card. It felt so silly at first. Just days before Mark and his mother pushed me out, I had stopped at the Shell gas station near my workplace. I needed to top off my tank and grab some milk. As I waited in line to pay, my eyes landed on a small stand by the counter. A bright orange sign read, Michigan State Lottery, $5 could change your life. The woman ahead of me was arguing about change, so I had a minute to think. I don't usually buy lottery tickets, never believed in them. But that day, I had a $5 bill left in my pocket, and something in me just said, why not? Maybe it was desperation. Maybe it was hope. I scratched it that same night, alone in the kitchen while the dishwasher hummed. Mark had gone upstairs without saying a word, as usual. I sat by the dim light over the stove, coin in hand, and slowly scratched the surface. At first, I didn't understand what I was seeing. 3 matching numbers, then a dollar sign, and then jackpot, $500,000. I blinked confused. I turned it over, read the tiny instructions again. Everything matched, but my hands were shaking. It felt too surreal to be true. I didn't tell Mark. God knows, if I had, Patricia would have shown up before sunrise to claim it. I slid the ticket carefully into my Bible, right between Psalm 23 and Proverbs 31. Somehow it felt safe there. And then I forgot about it. Well, not forgot, but buried it in the back of my mind. Life got busy. Emotions got heavy. I was already feeling like a burden, like a ghost in my own home. It just didn't feel like the right time to believe in good news. Until now, lying on Claire's couch, I sat up, reached for my bag, and pulled out the old Bible. My fingers trembled as I turned the pages. And there it was, still neatly tucked where I had left it. The ink still sharp, the numbers still staring back at me like a whisper from the universe. I turned to Claire's clock. It was just past 6:30 a.m. My pulse quickened as I picked up my phone and typed in Michigan State Lottery Commission. A number appeared. I stared at it for a few seconds before pressing call. A calm male voice answered. Michigan Lottery Claims Office. This is Greg speaking. How may I help you? Hi. My name is Emily Dawson. I think I may have a winning scratch card. There was a pause, then a reassuring chuckle. Well, that's what we're here for. Can you read me the serial code on the back? I read the digits slowly, carefully. There was a silence on the other end. Ma'am, he finally said, this looks like a high-tier win. I'll need to verify it, but you might want to sit down. My voice cracked. How much is it? According to our system, $500,000. Congratulations, Emily. The air vanished from my lungs. I stood up, then sat right back down. Claire, who had walked into the living room in a robe, looked at me with concern. What is it? She whispered. I won. Claire, I actually won. Greg's voice returned. We'll need to schedule a secure verification at our Grand Rapids office. Do you have ID? A bank account? We'll walk you through the process. We can even send a secure car if you need help getting here. I stared at Claire. She was smiling through confused tears. Yes, I said into the phone. Please send the car. 2 hours later, a black sedan pulled up in front of Claire's townhouse. The driver, dressed in a navy suit, held the door open for me like I was royalty. My bag sat on my lap the whole way. I clutched it like my life was inside, and honestly, it was. At the lottery office, I was taken through a side entrance to avoid attention. Greg, the voice on the phone, turned out to be a kind man in his 50s, glasses perched on his nose and a calm confidence in his tone. He examined the ticket, confirmed it, and had me sign the back. "Emily Dawson," he said, tapping the check printer. "You're officially half a millionaire." They handed me a certified letter, a large symbolic check, and instructions for setting up financial planning. My picture was taken for their internal win announcement, but I declined any media coverage. I didn't want the world or Mark to know. Not yet. When I stepped outside, the summer air felt different, crisp, like it belonged to someone else. And now, finally, to me, Claire was waiting with open arms when I returned. "What now?" she asked. "I'm going to breathe," I said, "and then I'll figure out the rest." The days that followed felt like stepping into someone else's life. Claire and I spent that entire weekend in a bubble of disbelief. 1 minute, I was being told I wasn't worth keeping around, and the next, I was signing paperwork that would deposit nearly $500,000 into a new bank account under my name only. No joint account, no shared access, just me. For the first time in 12 years, I wasn't asking permission. Greg from the Lottery Commission had referred me to a financial advisor named Angela Pierce. She was sharp, calm, and wore tortoiseshell glasses that made her look like the kind of woman who could predict the stock market just by glancing at a newspaper. Angela helped me open an investment account, structure a savings plan, and most importantly, secure a fully furnished apartment in downtown Grand Rapids. 2 bedrooms, floor-to-ceiling windows, white marble countertops. It was more than I ever dreamed of. But I didn't go overboard. I wanted peace, not noise. The apartment was ready in less than a week. I still remember the day I walked in for the first time, barefoot on polished hardwood floors, my reflection bouncing back from mirror closet doors. It was quiet. No tension. No silent accusations. Just me. Claire was the only person who knew everything. And I made sure she didn't lift a finger again. I paid off her credit card debt without telling her, transferred funds to cover her son's college tuition, and gave her $5,000 to jumpstart the interior design business she'd always dreamed of. "You don't have to do this," she said, her eyes wet. "I know," I replied, "but you open your door when the people who should have loved me threw me out. That counts for everything." Meanwhile, I kept quiet online. No Facebook posts. No Instagram hints. I stayed off the radar. Not because I was hiding, but because I didn't owe anyone an explanation, especially not Mark. But I won't lie, his ghost hovered. Every time my phone buzzed, I half expected it to be him. Maybe a cold text, or an apology, or some snide remark. But the silence from that side of my old life was absolute. Until a week later, when I saw Patricia at Meijer. I had stopped in for some fresh flowers and almond milk, dressed in jeans and a cream sweater. I barely looked different, but she noticed me. I saw it in her eyes, surprise, confusion, and then something like suspicion. She walked past without speaking, but she saw the new car keys in my hand, the manicured nails, the quiet confidence I hadn't worn before. I drove home that day with a small smile. Let them wonder. I still hadn't contacted Mark. I didn't plan to. I figured if he could throw me out like a bag of groceries. He didn't deserve access to the new version of me. But curiosity got the better of me one evening. I logged into my old Facebook account and went through his recent posts. They were vague, just a picture of a sandwich, a couple of recycled quotes about loyalty and finding yourself. But his eyes in those photos, tired, dim. I guess I wasn't the one holding him back after all. Claire and I spent the next weekend furniture shopping. She insisted on a velvet couch. "You've always wanted one," she said, flopping on a royal blue set. "Now you can have it." We picked out gold-accented lamps, wall art from a local gallery, and a coffee machine that looked smarter than I am. Every piece I chose, I imagined it whispering, "You made it." But even with all the newness, some nights I sat on my balcony and thought about the betrayal. Not because I missed him, but because I didn't understand how someone you loved could watch you break and feel nothing. I hadn't changed. I was still the same woman who folded his shirts, packed his lunch, held his hand at funerals. So what did I do that was so unforgivable? That thought haunted me until Angela, my advisor, said something that stuck. "Emily, when people don't see your worth, it's not your job to convince them. It's your job to walk away." And that's exactly what I was doing. I began journaling again, something I hadn't done since nursing school. I wrote letters I'd never send, poured the bitterness out so it wouldn't settle inside me like rot. I prayed, not just for healing, but for clarity. Because what good is money if your soul stays broken? I started volunteering twice a week at the women's shelter downtown, helping women who had nothing, no money, no home, no safety. Every time I looked into their eyes, I saw who I had almost become, and I knew, without a doubt, that fate had thrown me a lifeline for a reason. Mark hadn't called. Neither had Patricia. But I knew it wouldn't be long. People always notice when the one they discarded stops crawling. Soon enough, I'd be hearing from them. And this time, I would be ready. Your value doesn't vanish just because someone was too blind to see it. The right people never throw away gold. The call came on a Tuesday evening, exactly 18 days after I had walked out of Mark's house with 2 bags and a bruised heart. I was lighting a candle in my living room when my phone buzzed. The name on the screen froze me. Mark Dawson. I didn't answer. I just stared at it until it stopped ringing. A few minutes later, a text came through. "Emily, I heard about the lottery. Can we talk?" I didn't respond. I didn't need to. He had made his stance perfectly clear the night he stood behind his mother and watched me pack up 12 years of marriage like I was taking out the trash. 10 minutes later, another message. "You deserve someone who supports you. I know I failed. I miss you." I almost laughed. Not out loud, but deep in my chest. The kind of laugh that comes when someone finally sees your worth, only after it's no longer available for free. The next morning, I got a call from an unknown number. I picked up, thinking it might be Angela or Greg. "Emily?" A familiar voice croaked. "It's Patricia." I paused. She continued, her tone unusually soft. "I heard the news. I can't believe it. We were proud of you. We always knew you were capable." That sentence nearly knocked the air out of me. We always knew you were capable. From the same woman who once called me deadweight and told Mark I was a leech. I didn't respond. "Can we visit?" she asked quickly. "Mark would like to see you. He's been broken. We all are." "We," I finally said, "or just the ones who think I might now be useful?" Silence. "I don't think now's a good time," I said, then ended the call. I felt my hands shaking, not with fear or confusion, but with something stronger, control. The next week, they showed up. Claire and I were having brunch on my balcony when I noticed a familiar black Ford Edge pulling into the lot downstairs. I knew it was Mark's. I had driven that car too many times not to recognize the way it turned corners. Sure enough, 5 minutes later, a knock came at the door. Claire glanced at me. "Do you want me to?" "No," I said, walking slowly toward the door. "I've got it." I opened it to find Mark and Patricia standing side by side. He looked thinner. Her lipstick was smudged and her eyes were red. I could smell the desperation before either of them spoke. "Emily," he began, his voice low. "I'm sorry. We were wrong. I was wrong." Patricia nodded eagerly beside him. "We didn't realize what we had until it was gone. You've changed. You look amazing." I raised an eyebrow. "You didn't think that when you threw me out with no warning." Mark stepped forward, holding a small bouquet of flowers. "Please, just hear me out. I made a mistake. I want to make things right." I crossed my arms. Would you be standing here if I had won the lottery? That stopped them. Mark hesitated. That's not fair. No! I asked, my tone calm but piercing. What's not fair is being tossed out like garbage after years of loyalty. What's not fair is watching your husband stay silent while his mother humiliates you daily. What's not fair is being treated like a burden when all you ever did was love. Patricia spoke up, her voice trembling. We let our pride get in the way. But Emily, you belong with us. I shook my head slowly. No, Patricia, I belonged. Past tense. And you made it very clear I wasn't wanted. Claire appeared behind me, arms folded, her presence alone enough to steady me. Mark dropped to one knee. Please, just give me a chance to fix this. I miss you. I still love you. I looked down at him and saw a man grasping, not for love, but for comfort, for the version of me who tolerated silence, disrespect, and half-hearted affection. I was no longer that version. I took a deep breath, stepped back, and closed the door softly. Not a slam, not a scream, just a quiet, final answer. Inside, Claire hugged me tightly. That was incredible. I felt a weight lift off my chest. It wasn't revenge I wanted. It was peace. And for the first time, I finally had it. After the door clicked shut behind Mark and Patricia, I stood in the hallway for a long minute. My hands weren't shaking. My heart wasn't racing. There was no rage, no tears, no smug satisfaction. Just calm. Claire walked back to the kitchen to reheat our coffee, giving me space. She knew the storm had passed, and I had walked through it untouched. That moment changed everything. I wasn't the same woman who had walked out of that house weeks ago. I had been stripped down to the bone, humiliated, pushed out like I was nothing. And now, I was whole again, not because of the money, but because I finally saw myself clearly. That kind of healing, I wouldn't trade for $1 million. The next day, I sat down with Angela and finalized a few long-term decisions. I set aside money for a women's crisis shelter in downtown Grand Rapids. We funded 2 new beds, therapy support, and hygiene kits for the next 6 months. I didn't make a big deal about it. No press, no names, just quiet restoration. I also made sure Claire's business, Bennett Interiors, launched on the best foot possible. We hired a web designer, got her social media running, and she booked her first client within 3 weeks. The smile on her face the day she walked out in a blazer with her name on a business card. It was better than any revenge I could have imagined. As for me, I traveled, first to Colorado, to hike the Garden of the Gods, something I'd always wanted to do but never had the time or approval to do. Then to Savannah, Georgia, where I stayed in a quiet bed and breakfast, walked cobblestone streets, and wrote pages in my journal every morning over sweet tea. People often asked if I was celebrating something. I would smile and say, peace. One morning, back in Michigan, I received an email from Mark. Just want to say I understand. I hope you're happy. I truly do. There was no attachment, no manipulation, just a quiet, defeated message. I didn't reply, not because I was bitter, but because closure had already happened. When someone shows you who they are, believe them, and then believe in yourself enough to move on. Patricia, on the other hand, had been more persistent. She sent a card on my birthday. Thinking of you, it said, signed only with her name. I didn't respond to that either. Some bridges are better left burned. I redecorated the apartment. Claire helped me design a little reading nook by the window. Light blue cushions, a warm throw blanket, and a shelf filled with everything from poetry to personal finance. I called it my corner clarity. One evening, I sat there watching the sunset, journaling with a soft blanket over my legs, and a thought came to me. This isn't about proving anything to anyone anymore. For too long, I had lived my life trying to be enough for a man, for a family, for people who never truly saw me. But I was enough the whole time. The money was a blessing, yes, but the real win? Walking away with my dignity and choosing peace over revenge. I still work, part-time now at a local hospice. I like helping people. It grounds me. And every time I hold a hand of someone in their final moments, I'm reminded that life is short and peace is priceless. Not long ago, I ran into one of Mark's cousins at a community event. She looked stunned to see me, told me Patricia was still confused, and Mark had started dating again. "That's good," I said. "Everyone deserves a second chance." She blinked. "You're not angry?" "No," I smiled. "I'm free." So, if you're listening to this and you've been made to feel small, disposable, unwanted, remember this. Your worth doesn't decrease because someone failed to see it. You are not broken just because someone mishandled you. You don't need revenge to win. The best revenge is peace. And peace? That's something no one can throw you out of. Have you ever been underestimated, only to later find your peace and power? Tell me in the comments. I'd love to hear your story.